Hey, this is Ralph, and in this video and some videos that are going to follow, we're going to be working on Microsoft Excel certification skills. Now, this video is going to focus right here on the top of the list, importing data into workbooks, and it shouldn't be that tough. Specifically, we want to make sure we know how to import data via text files and CSV files. Text files are tab delimited, meaning that the data is separated by tabs going across, and CSV files are comma delimited. Meaning the text is separated by a comma. I can give you a really quick example of that. In fact, I'll just good old-fashioned notepad here. Haven't used this in a while, but yeah, so with a tab delimited file, you would have, let's say, fname, comma, lname, comma, city. And then each row of data would be similar to that. I might have Phillips, comma, Ralph, comma, Tampa. And then we could have Smith, Jane, Portland, that kind of thing. So that would be a comma delimited text file. And if you can imagine, if I'm just pressing tab keys in between these, now we have tab delimited text file. Great. Okay, I'm going to close that. Don't need to save it. Now before starting the video, I've already got access to a tab delimited data file and a comma delimited data file, TXT extension, CSV extension. Let's go ahead and start up Excel. And a blank workbook is fine. And let's see, I'm going to jump over to the data ribbon. And notice they have the really common ones right there, from text, CSV, from web. We might be able to handle one of those too. I can also go to get data, and there's options on here. So from file, I can go to from text CSV. I'm going to go ahead and click on that option. And let's see, I'll go over to my desktop. That's where my file is saved, and I'll do the CSV file first. It's right there. There's my comma delimited file with a CSV extension. Just double click on that one. Excel's going to think for a bit. It's going to give me a little preview of my data to make sure things are looking proper and stuff. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. It knows that my delimiter is the comma. There are an option. Sometimes I've seen data sets where semicolons are used as the delimiter. That's not the case here, but we could change it to that if necessary. I'm going to keep it as comma. That looks pretty good. Now, it's letting me load, or I can go to transform data. Transform data will take us into the to the Power Editor, the Power Query Editor, but I think I'm safe just hitting load, which will take that data and throw it right into my Excel file that I was at. And there we go, and there's my data. Now it's already been formatted and styled as a table. I've got filter drop downs for the top row there, and I've also got some styling up there as a table. But now it's pretty easy, and I can work with this just like any Excel data set. Cool. I'm going to jump over to sheet 1. Let's try this again, but this time I'll get my tab delimited file. So I'm going to head back over to the data ribbon. Oh, and by the way, my active cell is cell A1 up there, so that's where it's inserting that data. Okay, from text, this time I'm going to grab my tab delimited TXT file, import. It's going to think for a bit. Looking pretty good. Everything's nice. By the way, I knew my data was nice and clean. You want to have a data set that doesn't have any empty columns or any empty rows, which would break the table flow. It's okay to have empty cells, you just don't want to have a completely empty column or empty row. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and click load again. And there's my data. It was the same data set, so it does look familiar. They were just formatted slightly different. Well, that was pretty easy. Let's go ahead and try one more. This time I'm going to get data from the web. So I'm going to go over to another sheet here. Now I've already got a web page open that I use for a couple of assignments related to Excel. It's thenumbers.com/market. And it's got a bunch of web tables on here of movie data. And if you're importing data into Excel from the web, it's really fast and easy, especially if the table is neat and simply structured with a web table. So that's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that web address because I'm going to need that. So I'm going to copy the web address from where I want to go. Back over to Excel, data. This time I'm going to go from the web. Of course, I could go to get data, and I think it is under other sources, and there's an option there from the web. Lots of different sources. All right, I'm going to click from web off of the main ribbon. I'm going to paste in my URL, click OK. And it's going to give me a breakdown of all of the various tables that are on that page, at least the tables that it could recognize. And if I click on these, I can see the samples. I think this is the one I wanted right up here, but I can click on these other examples and I'll see that, okay, there were a bunch of other tables on that page. If you recall, there's a ton of really simply structured tables on here, so really useful for practicing charts and graphs and Excel data. Okay, well, that looks pretty good. And I guess it doesn't really matter which one I bring in, but I want to bring in something that looks a little bit bigger. I'll bring in that top one there, table 0. And this time I'm going to click Transform Data. Loads it into my Power Query Editor. Not going to do very much in here. I just want to kind of see how it looks. And it does create this extra first row, which are labels, which is above and beyond the filtering rows up there. So I don't really need that. So I can use a feature right in this editor too. I'll remove rows from the top, and I'm going to remove one row. Click OK. Cleans that up. I'm feeling pretty good about it. So I think what I'll do now is just click Close and Load right there, and I can just click Close and Load. It's going to close the editor, and it's going to pop my data. I'm going to think for a second here. Pop my data right into Excel from the web. So once again, I can sum things up. I can average them. I can start to make charts and graphs and stuff like that. So there we go. So that's going to take care of the first couple skills for the Microsoft Excel certification test, importing data into workbooks. Pretty easy to work with, pretty easy to practice. You won't have to do it more than a couple times, and then when you do take the certification test, you're going to be perfectly okay. Take care.